Hello and welcome to Spurs Kings TV. It is Monday and it is time for the Monday pitch. I am Marlon. I don't really want to talk about Spurs, but Mitch, are you well and are you happy with Newcastle?
Oh yes, 100%. Fully happy with Newcastle at the minute, and I'm doing well, bro. Apart from Tottenham, you good?
Yeah. I'm good.
Out here giving everybody a helping hand these days. First wins,
Oh
all
mate,
that. Just
I should be happy because we should be sitting here third. Not now. What same? I'm pretty sure we're the same points as you now.
I think we might even be one above you. You know.
You weren't one above us. See, that's how bad. That's how quickly the season has turned. But yeah, good win against Forest yesterday. As we were talking about Nuno last week, and it's quite damning. Well, not damning, but it's like Eddie Howe comes up against him and he just fell short, didn't he?
Yeah. I was weirdly confident going in because we've been rubbish away, and obviously City are flying. But
Yeah.
like I said last week, I just can't see how when it plateaus, they're anything other than just an ordinary side, and that's what showed Sunday.
So let me bring out the other two now. First of all, Sink, are you well?
I'm good, thank you. How you doing, lads?
We are good. And a 2-0 loss for you lot at the weekend against Leeds.
Yeah,
It's not looking good for QPR, is
not,
it?
not looking good at all, mate. It's just one of these things. Hopefully, the form can turn around. I'm just waiting for the switch to flip, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I think managers walking the tightrope at the moment. It's just a matter of time, I think, before he gets to chop.
You know, you could do with playing next.
Who's that?
Spurs. you get a win. You probably get a win out of that.
Problem is, we could probably beat Spurs and still won't get any points for it. That's the annoying thing. Oh, mate, terrible season.
And let me bring out the next guy. Obviously, Spurs fan, resident ref. So, and we've got something to talk about at the end of this stream. So, always happy to hear what he has to say. But Chris, are you well? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Can anyone else hear him?
No.
Got to be muted.
Yeah. Yeah, it's muted. Thing is, we could hear him a minute ago as well.
Yeah, sorry. How about now?
Yeah, we got you.
There we go. We got Chris.
Resident ref, Chris. Chris, come on, Spurs. Quickly.
Yeah, so my attempts with technology was about as successful as Spurs' efforts over the weekend there. I don't know. I think we should just get on with it. Look, I'm as happy as you can be as a Spurs fan on a Monday. Put it that way.
So, first of all, like what I really wanted to bring up, right, because it's been topic of the weekend, right, and Manchester City, right. We were speaking about it a couple of weeks ago, and we were saying, look, they're gonna. Well, I think most of us said they're gonna win the league. They'll come back and whatnot. But since they lost to Spurs, they've gone on a 4-game losing streak. However, they have all been away, but it's probably the manner of the defeats. So, Mitch, I'm going to start with you. Yeah, are Manchester City in a slight crisis for the first time under Pep? This is the first time they've lost 4 games in a row in all competitions.
Yeah, you've got to call it a crisis because it's not a crisis for anybody else, but for Man City, it's a crisis because they don't normally go through these runs of forms and they don't last this long, and they don't really lose games the way they're losing them. But even the games they've lost, the ones that I've seen anyway, they're missing a lot of chances at the minute, and then they just seem to fall off in the last sort of half hour, and teams get back at them.
Pep mentioned the Wolves game, right, which I think was just before Southampton, where they did, and we were discussing it that week as well, how they were getting these last-minute goals. But City haven't really played well since. Like you looked before they played us in the cup, they played Southampton, and Southampton are probably the worst team in the Premier League right now, hands down. Let's not beat around the bush. And they only beat them 1-0. Yes, they missed chances, but so did Southampton. So, are we seeing a little mini crisis? Are we starting to see what it's like without Rodri?
Yeah, I think we are a bit. But I think for them, unlike a few of the other teams, the international break might have come at a good time Because if they can get one or two more back after and actually find a way of playing that's sustainable for them in the long run, they could then start turning it around. And they've got Tottenham next, so that's 3 points.
wait, hey, we started this crisis, behave. Sink, I want to bring you into it, right? Because obviously I think all of us will kind of City are going to win it, right? And are we still at the same mindset? They're second. They've only lost 2 games this season, which is against Bournemouth and Brighton for the first time, and they've both been 2-1, right? So, are we starting to see Man City's vulnerabilities, or is it a case of, like Mitchie said, after the international break, they'll batter Spurs and it'll be back on track?
It could be, but I think like Mitch pointed out, not having Rodri, I think, is massive, but also Diaz as well at the back. He's a massive leader for them as well. So I think it's maybe the spine of their team has been compromised a little bit. I also noticed that he had Akanji and Ake on the bench on the weekend.
Yeah,
and maybe that has contributed. Not obviously when you've got big injuries, maybe you need to go with your tried and trusted players that know what it's going to take to secure 3 points where they was in a good position on Saturday and then ended up losing it right at the end. If you've got Ake and Akanji starting that game, going all the way through, maybe you don't get into that position. But I still feel like after when we come back from the international break, City will get into some sort of form. I think if it continues into Christmas period, then I think it's embedded a real crisis. So we're all expecting them to get back to City ways, but in this present moment in time, I would say it's a little bit of a crisis for them, just because Pep hasn't experienced 4
You
losses
know
in
what?
advance. Before.
You know what?
Yeah.
Them two on the bench, a City fan was saying to me that they're just doing that to fill the bench. Like there's
Oh,
guys
they're
on the
injured.
bench that can't even come on. They're just there to make up
Oh,
numbers.
right. All right. So yeah, so I think the injuries are taking its toll when you don't have quality players like that to pick from, and you're relying on your attacking line to be the responsible ones. It's always going to take its toll when it comes to the home straight of the match, last 10 minutes. That's where it's going to count. Where you
So,
need your
the question then is, right, with all these injuries, does it make it more of a level playing field that City will actually get a title race, a proper one this season?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the table, it's right now it's looking very interesting. That everything's up for grabs. Anyone that can put a good run together and put a good strategy to make sure that they've got good form throughout the rest of the season can put themselves in such a good position. Sorry, for the home straight going through Christmas and then the home straight at the other side of the season. So it could be a very interesting season this time round, rather than City just taking it. It could be very interesting the way it's looking right now. Hopefully, it stays that way, nice and tight, and everything's up for grabs.
Chris, have Tottenham killed Manchester City's title hopes by just beating them?
I mean, the team you want to play when you haven't won for a little while is Dr. Tottenham, isn't it? And fortunately for City, Spurs will fix it all for them very soon. So I wouldn't worry too much.
But
Yeah.
Chris, no, on I know we're saying that because we're Spurs fans and obviously our recent results. But for Manchester City, the one team they hate playing, especially when they need a result, is Tottenham.
Yeah, I know, but the whole Dr. Tottenham thing will outweigh that. So it'll be fine. Like if they'd won 8 in a row, I'd probably be like, you know what, we'll probably get something from this game. Because they've lost 4 in a row, I'm more like, no chance, we're going to get thrashed. The only thing I'd say about City though is just a word of caution. How many times in the last few years, around this time of year, has the conversation been, City aren't the same this season. They're not up to it. They've lost the hunger. And then every year they come back, right? So I'd just be a little careful. I'm surprised. I just had a quick look at the odds. I'm surprised actually that Liverpool are clear favourites now for the Premier League. But
do you think that will change after the Christmas period? That's always when people start to get a clear understanding. So they're going to change the odds every week because Liverpool right now are getting them results, but will Liverpool do what Liverpool do and fall off in March? And if City start to put pressure on them, and do you know what? Let's throw this into the conversation, right? Are Arsenal and Chelsea still involved in this conversation?
Yeah, definitely. I believe so.
Go on. Why are they both in this conversation? The only because they obviously drew yesterday, right? And everyone's talking about Arsenal not being in a title race, but they've only lost, is it 3 or 2 now, right? Without looking at the table, so they're not even that many points behind. So why is it? So why is no one? Why has everyone wrote them off? Why have we got KG and expressions saying that their chances are gone? Why is no one talking about Chelsea?
I really don't know, because maybe what it is that a week is so long in football
Yeah,
that someone makes their final conclusion at the end of week 10, and you're like, wait, we've still got so many weeks to go and so much of the season to build up and so much of the story to see. But I mean, you can't count City out. You can't count Chelsea and Arsenal out. I think if you look at what they got going in both their clubs, Maresca and Arteta, they've got a way of playing football. They don't look like they're trying to fuddle their way through. Arsenal are now getting Odegaard back. He's come in. He's got the assist. Um, I thought the game was very, very entertaining between Chelsea, very stifling each other. Quite a good chess game,
yeah,
but obviously, I think certain players might have been like Palmer was probably expecting a bit more from him, but maybe Arteta did a defensive job on him, made his game real difficult. These are the kind of things that Arteta, Maresca, these managers, they're progressive, forward-thinking managers. So, yeah, you can't count them out. I wouldn't count them out.
I got a question for you, like them. So how many games do you have to lose? Yeah, how many games can you afford to lose if you're going to win the title?
It depends on what kind of season City has. Sorry to interject. If City's having one of their on-one seasons, you can only really lose one. But right now, maybe you can afford to lose a couple.
Mitch?
I personally think they're both out of it. I think
Well,
the only way,
Arsenal, Chelsea. Yeah,
yeah. I think the only way anybody stops City from winning it is if this run does go on a few more games and Liverpool capitalise. Because if City don't beat Tottenham and then they get beat by Liverpool, then it's a mountain to climb for everybody, because they've already got 9 points on Chelsea and Arsenal. They've only
yeah,
got 4. I think they've got 4 on City. But if then City don't beat Tottenham and Liverpool win, and then Liverpool go and beat City, that's massive. And Liverpool, the difference between that and Arsenal having done it is Liverpool have got a spine of players that have done it. They've won the league. They know how to close the league out. Yes, they've fallen off before in years of Klopp, but Klopp was full press, high energy the whole time. Under Slot, they don't play the same way. They're a lot more methodical in what they do, and their energy runs for the 90 minutes of the game. So I don't see the same fall off in March.
So do you
These
think the gap
next
Just,
is
two
too
games,
wide?
just another question for you, Mitch. Do you see Liverpool's squad having as much depth as some of the other challengers?
I think they've got as much depth as anybody other than City. But City have got so many injuries that it's all levelled out now. Like Liverpool's depth up front is similar to Chelsea's. The depth in midfield probably isn't. But then you've got players like Curtis Jones who are now stepping up. So if he
True.
keeps this form up, that again, it's an extra man in there who's playing on the top of his game and looking like a top player at the minute. If they can keep them two, and if they keep Kanate and Van Dijk fit as well, then teams are just going to struggle to score, and they're not going to drop many points.
I think
Like
that's probably some of where they might
massive, isn't it?
step up.
If you think 9
You-
points, yeah, you'd have to think if they're going to lose 3 games, it would take them about 15 games to lose 3 games in that kind of theory, really. That means someone has to win 15 games on the trot to make up 9 points.
True. So look, if you look at Liverpool's away fixtures, so they've still got to play City away, they've still got to play Chelsea away, they've still got to play Tottenham away, and they've still got to play Newcastle and Villa away. Do you think they're not games that possibly Liverpool could lose?
They are, but that means the teams that are 9 points behind have to be perfect. That's the problem here. It's not Liverpool dropping points. It's about everybody else being perfect and everybody beating everybody. So for one of these teams to switch it on and be perfect now, the only team that have shown they can do that time and time again are Manchester City.
Yeah.
No one else has shown that they can do that. So that's why I discount Liverpool. I mean, that's why I discount Chelsea and Arsenal, because
Chris,
they've never shown that they can go on around that way.
yeah, where's your say on this, Chris?
Yeah, I was just looking at the fixtures actually. So after City have played Dr. Tottenham next in the league, the next game after that is Liverpool v Man City, right? So in 6 days, Liverpool have got Man City at home, Newcastle away, and Everton away. That's 3 amazing fixtures to have in 6 days, and that's going to tell us a hell of a lot, I think.
If they come out of that unscathed, right, would you probably say that that's probably them won the league by then? If they come out of that unscathed, would you put them as favourites? All right, would you put them as favourites in the bookies?
I mean, favourites, yeah. I mean, if they come through that, yeah, I'd say so, favourites. But football can change quickly, right? We've seen teams blow leads. It wasn't even that, it was only a couple of years ago, was it the season before last, that Arsenal got a decent gap and they blew, what, an 8-9 point lead.
Yep.
Everybody remembers Newcastle blowing 12-point lead, and that was like February time or something. So there's a lot of football to be played, yeah. But,
we want to predict it now. We want to clip all this, so when you come back to the end of the year, we can go, do you remember when you said?
Well, I mean, bear in mind this time last season, Spurs had got like 26 points, right? So
Don't remind me. So what I wanted to move on to, right? So, and it coincides with City, is Brighton. And the reason why I want to talk about Brighton is because Hurstler seems to have come in like a duck to water and settled into the Premier League straight away. Now, considering, Chelsea, Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, and Brighton have won 5, lost 4, drawn 2. So they're all on the same points, right? But this Brighton model, right, is it something that other teams should be looking at? Or do you think it is sustainable long term, or do you think Brighton will eventually get caught out like other teams have done in the past when they've had to sell best players, sell player after player after player? But actually, Brighton seem to always find a gem of a manager, and they always seem to find gem of players. Mitch, I'll go with you first.
The model is very hard to sustain because there's only so many you'll get right before you get a few wrong. And I think with Brighton, if they get a few wrong, it could look very bad for them. Players wise, they always get it right. Managers wise, I haven't, as much as they've been doing well at Brighton, I haven't really seen a lot from any of the past few managers who tell me that they're top managers. Like they'll do well at Brighton, but which of these managers that did well at Brighton then went on to do well somewhere else or somewhere bigger?
Well, I don't know how De Zerbi's doing at Marseille. I believe he's doing all right. Yes, Graham Potter probably went to the.
Yeah, he did a press conference in the week where he basically said, right, I'm ready to quit because he's doing so badly.
Yeah, it's the model. The model's fantastic, but all it takes is a summer window that goes ever so slightly wrong, and I think they're in trouble.
So Marseille, I know he's having trouble, and I know recently he put up his contract to say that he was offered to Man United in the summer, and he gave it up for this. But Marseille are sitting third, 1-6, drawn 2, lost 3. Graham Potter obviously went into Chelsea and they were completely a mess, right? And it's only been fixed now, but he was probably started that So, is it too quick to judge their managers until Graham Potter gets another job?
Well, Graham Potter hasn't had a job for ages. No one seems to want it.
Well, we know why he ain't got another job. He's being paid handsomely to stay living life. Right? But no, in all seriousness, because is it the manager or is it Brighton's model? Because it's Fabian Hurstler's come in and he's literally just taken on what De Zerbi had done. And De Zerbi, to be fair, last season towards the end was going a bit pear-shaped for Brighton, right? Graham Potter, I never really rated because he would go 3 months without winning, but he'd win enough games to keep Brighton up. But they just played great football, right? And it's a bit like what Ange's doing at Tottenham, where the football's great in certain games and wins you games, but you lose so many, but you've got enough points to calculate that you don't have to worry about the other games. So what are Brighton doing? Why are Brighton getting away with this for so long? Because Southampton got done by this when they had to sell their best players and they got relegated. But how comes this keeps working and working and working?
It must be something within the model that they're doing. There's specific things that they're doing in terms of they're probably already looking for targets to replace the potential players that are going to get bought, who they think they are going to get bought. In terms of Graham Potter, maybe when he started, the expectation wasn't what we have now today of Brighton.
Yeah.
So he probably got away with not having as much wins as what you would expect to have now. De Zerbi, he comes in, he has a big promotion about his arrival to the Premier League. So his expectations were a little bit higher. People were interested to see how he's going to approach the Premier League, how he's going to have Brighton set up. There was a lot of talk about him, and then the current managers come in, and he's probably having to surf the wave off the back of De Zerbi. But he's obviously a very, very progressive, due diligent style manager. Someone that takes a lot of the details, the fine details, to implement what it is he wants to get out of the game, and he's showing that he can articulate it to his players for them to produce what they've been producing. Whether they can sustain it, that's another thing. But Brighton are a bit of a showcase team now, because players, managers go there to showcase what they're about, and then they end up getting another job. Not
Very,
necessarily a
very
bigger
good point.
job,
No,
but
that's
another.
a very good point. So the reason why I wanted to bring up, like, Brighton are obviously sitting comfortably. I forgot where they're sitting now, in sixth, right? But obviously they're on the same points as Chelsea, Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, and everyone else, right? But the reason why I brought up their fixtures, if you look at the teams they've played already, so they've played Man United, right? They've played who else they played? They've played Chelsea, they've played Spurs, they've played Newcastle, they've played Liverpool, and they've now played City. Now, if you look at their next run of fixtures, they're probably against some beatable teams here. So, is the sky the limit for Brighton, or are they just better against the bigger boys?
Well, they got to try and take
Yeah,
advantage of this position that they're in.
yeah, you could be right. They're better against the bigger teams, but like look at watching some of these games. I only sort of half watched the City game at the weekend, and to me, it looked like City could probably should have been 3 or 4 up by half time. The Tottenham game was impressive because he tweaked it at half time. There was another game he made a tweak at half time and it changed the game.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you say they played Man United. They played Man United, Ten Hag Man United. That's 3 points to any half decent team in the league. They came to us a few weeks ago. Yeah, they beat us 1-0, but we absolutely battered them and just couldn't put the ball in the.
To be fair, so did we. If you think about it, we battered them too. So, but they're getting the results. Like, if you look at Liverpool, like the reason why I'm bringing up, like, if you look at Liverpool's results, Liverpool, like, literally got battered by Brighton, but got the result. So Brighton have kind of did the same thing to you and done the same thing to us. They were getting battered and got the result. And it's actually, when you think about it, as long as you get the result, isn't that more important than what the performance is like?
Yeah,
It is in the odd game, but that's not a sustainable model of a successful football team.
Go on. Why can't Brighton sustain this? Because against Everton in the first game of the season, they were battered until the sending off. Arsenal, Arsenal's 50-50, but the sending off helped them. So are you kind of saying that Brighton have been quite lucky in their game so far, and it's just they've had to rub the green?
It looks like it for most of the games that I've watched. Like they won't come to St James's Park again and play exactly the same way and get away with a win.
Which you sound a bit bitter.
No, they won. We didn't put the ball in the net, and they did. But all I'm saying is that would never happen again. Like we missed, I think Isaac missed 2 1-on-1s.
Yeah.
Gordon missed a 1-on-1. Like that doesn't happen on a consistent basis. So on probability wise, if they keep giving up these chances and they keep getting battered in games, it's going to get to the point where teams are just going to take the chances and they're out of games before they know it. And making a few tweaks at half time isn't always going to get them 3 goals in the second half and stuff like that.
Chris,
But
is it very?
could it be
Oh,
a case?
done.
Sorry, just wanted to interject. Could it be a case with the new manager
Mhm.
learning about the Premier League? Maybe he doesn't have. He's obviously not had that experience as he navigates the season. By the end of the season, could he possibly have sussed a few things out and then maybe, take advantage of the position that he's in now?
It could be. Could be. My point isn't. I'm not trying to dig out Brighton, and I'm not trying to dig out Hertzler at all. My point
I
is
know.
let's not put him up on a pedestal too early because
No, it's not even Hurstler. Like Hurstler's probably like for me. I do agree that he's come into a club where, to be honest, when you look at it, it come into a model where it's a happy club,
yeah,
right? So it's not like he's had to come in and it was a crisis. De Zerbi's left them in a good spot. Brighton seems to be, as player wise, they all want to play for the club. It's not kind of they see it. Oh look, they see it as a stepping stone. Let's all know, but at the same time, any manager that wants to thrive at Brighton seems to be thriving in. And I think Chris, you said it, where they go in there and they can literally set the world alight and showcase their skills. So is it a case of that's what most clubs kind of need to do in a situation? Because if you're like Man United or Tottenham, right? And this is why I wanted to bring Chris into it. Is what Brighton are doing right now, especially Stoke, is it very similar to what's going on at Tottenham, but the players are like very inconsistent with it?
I don't know about that. I think there's a massive difference between the managers, right? Which I think Hertzler, for me, I'd never heard of him at all.
Yeah.
But super impressive in the sense of he seems to learn really quickly, even within games, right? He identifies what's going wrong and he changes things. And I think that's massively to his credit and really impressive, which this is not about Tottenham, right? But contrasts massively with And. So credit to him for that. And the only other thing I think I was going to say on Brighton is, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not going to say they're going to win the league, but when Leicester won the league, they only had 42% possession, right? And we kept saying week in, week out, well, not us, but people kept saying this isn't sustainable, right? They're gonna fall away, and they didn't. So who knows? But I mean, what a really impressive start for me, and I'm just fascinated to see what happens to Hertzler. Like, such 31 years old, and he's come in. He looks like, at this stage, he looks like the real deal. But it's early days, and it could it be a new manager bounce? It's only 11 games, so hard to know at this stage.
So with the start that they've had, and this is for everybody, where do you think Brighton can finish? Where can they finish this season? What would be a great season for Brighton, especially with the start they've had?
where do I think they'll finish, or what would be a great season?
Where do you think they're going to finish? Realistically, where do we think they're going to finish after this great start? They're on 19 points, they're on the same points as Chelsea, Arsenal, and Forest. And obviously, Forest have had a good start, so they got come up against Newcastle yesterday. But where can they realistically finish? Where can they look and go, we can finish there? Especially with Man United getting them a new manager, Newcastle are creeping up behind them, and Spurs are Spurs.
Well, Brighton, as the club they are, will probably be looking at European places. Doesn't matter which European place, that's what they'll be looking for. But I don't think they'll get it.
Who will finish above? Who do you think will finish above them? Apart from
Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Man United, Villa, Newcastle.
Okay. Sink?
I think they can secure a Europa League place. I think what would be exceptional is if they finish in the top four. Could they do it? Very, very difficult. Not impossible. But I feel like realistically, Europa League place. Maybe a sixth place finish, between sixth and eighth would be.
And if you're saying six or eighth, who are the clubs that are finished above them?
City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, possibly Villa, possibly Newcastle.
Chris, they're both written off Spurs there, right? Just about. They both want to, but they know they're on Spurs Kings TV. Where do you see Brighton in all of this at the end? Where could you realistically see them?
But honestly, I think if they finished sixth, it would be an exceptional effort. When you look at just the size of the clubs we're talking about: Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle, Villa. These are huge clubs. Brighton are tiny in comparison. So if they finished 6th and got back into Europe, that's phenomenal. I remember the last time they were in Europe and they went and they won. I know Ajax were a bit rubbish at the time, but they went and beat Ajax away, right? And Ajax 0, Brighton 2 is just like one of those results I never thought I'd ever see anything like that in my lifetime. But
yeah, because they finished 6th last time. They finished 6th.
Yeah. So again, I think a 6th place finish would be unreal, right? With the size of the clubs around them. It's Brighton and Hove Albion, for Christ's sake. Let's remember like how small they are in not knocking them at all, but in comparison to a Newcastle, a Tottenham, and Man United, right? Yeah. So that'd be an amazing. I think they could do that. I don't think they could finish any higher, if I'm honest. But if they finish 6th, I think that would be an unbelievable season.
And who's in front of them?
Well, the current top 4, then probably to finish above both Newcastle and Villa. I imagine out of Newcastle and Villa, one of them will probably become good over the second half of the season and get back up there. So I'd imagine one of those will probably finish above Forest. I'd probably edge towards Newcastle at the moment. They've just won, haven't they? Maybe they've turned a bit of a corner, and it'll be tough to maintain all of them. I'm not exactly the most optimistic of Spurs fans, so I'm not even entertaining the notion of Spurs are going to be
just to put it in perspective for you all, the teams that finished above them last time when they finished 6th was City, Arsenal, United, Newcastle, Liverpool. It was Villa and Tottenham that finished below them.
Same again. Yeah. I don't see any reason why they can't. I mean,
do you know what? I agree. I personally would probably I'd swap Man United out because I don't think, even though Amorim's coming in, I just don't think it's going to be sustainable for that. They're Man United. They're not great. I know they've had great results recently, but they're not great. And they're going to be so inconsistent this season. So I'd swap them out for Aston Villa. That would be only one I'd swap out. And I think for Spurs right now, it's going to be 5 losses already, and we're only in November. So it's not looking good.
I think Villa are in trouble.
Go on, explain.
They haven't won in about 6, and everybody was lauding them and saying they haven't done what Newcastle done when they got in the Champions League. They've only just hit the point now where we started to fall apart last season, and they're already showing signs of it. They haven't won in 6 or 7 games.
I'll just give you their results. So they lost to Liverpool 2-0, which kind of expected. Club Brugge was a bit of they should have, after their first 3 games, they probably weren't expected to lose that. They obviously lost to Spurs. Palace in the Cup, we'll just take out of it. They drew with Bournemouth, who were on form. They beat Bologna, and then Fulham was the last team they beat. So if you look at that running, I would ask the question of who was you expecting them to beat?
Well, the Villa playing at their best, like they're not like Club Brugge. You would have expected them to be.
Yeah,
the Mings handball.
The
Mings handball. Yeah,
they're not playing. Like even the games they were winning earlier on in the season, they were bringing someone on who was scoring a mad goal, and something crazy was happening. And again, it's just not sustainable. And they're now starting to look a bit leggy because they're trying to tweak their game to conserve energy, and they're not playing the same way of football they were playing last season.
Do you think it's very similar? I'm just going to, because you just said something. Is it very similar to what Conte tried to do in his second season with Tottenham, where he allowed teams to put pressure on them in the first half because he knew that we had the Champions League and we also had the World Cup, and he was conserving energy for the second part of the season, which kind of went wrong. But is it probably quite similar what Emery's trying to do, or is he just?
It sounds like it could be, but I'm going to be honest. I know Tottenham fans that didn't want to watch you under Conte, so I certainly wasn't watching you.
Mate, if all I say about that is if you watched us against Ipswich, then I don't know what Spurs fans are going to complain at anything, because there hasn't been Andrew Ball for weeks. It's a myth. So, but anyway, okay. So we were going to talk about VAR and stuff, but news broke about 12 o'clock today, as it does. And then obviously there's been, I've only seen the news articles in probably in the last hour or so. So if anything's moved on, right, I am completely sorry. But I want to talk about this man, David Coote.
Tut,
Okay.
tut, tut.
Okay, the video surfaced today at lunchtime. Then about, I think 5 o'clock, rumours have circulated that he tried to say it wasn't him and his AI generated.
Oh my god!
Right after so
That one, gee
yeah,
whiz.
mate, he could have got away with it. To be fair to him, he could have got away with it. And the Premier League basically said that they're going to get their experts involved and whatnot. And then I think in the last couple of hours, he has admitted it. He has admitted it is him. Right, he has been suspended by the Premier League for the time being while they investigate. What else did they say? They've suspended him. He has said it's him, but he doesn't remember the conversation. As he, from the sounds of it, like, to be honest, he does sound a bit drunk in it. He's slurring his words a little bit. I'll give him that, right? But he's definitely knows because of the transcript. Before I read the transcript out to you guys, I'm going to start with Mitch, Sink, and then go to Chris. But it was obviously very, very explicit about Liverpool. Very, very explicit about Jurgen Klopp, right? So my question is to you guys is, was he wrong for video recording? Was he wrong for video recording it? And what is the future now for David Coote? Mitchie, start first.
I think he's completely ruined himself here. Like, for two reasons. One, you don't, as a Premier League referee, you can't go around saying that stupidness. You just can't be that fucking stupid. And two, you can't let someone record you being that fucking stupid. Like, what would be the point of this? Regardless of how drunk he is, what is going through his head when this is recording, and then he's saying these things, because it's just utterly ridiculous. And then he does another video saying that video can't get out. Like, just
So I think it's all as one. Yeah, I think it's all as one, but they've split it into two. I think it's just one
do
transcript.
yourself a favor and not put yourself in a position to be outed like that. I don't care who is recording. If I was going to say something that could potentially put my job on the line and the camera went up, I am shutting up and not saying another word. Simple as that. I am not carrying it on, and I get that they get all kinds of abuse from managers, and yeah, they probably think managers are dickheads. And respect to him if he's gone into Liverpool games, and not let that affect his decision. But
It's quite weird because he was their referee yesterday as well, and he didn't give 2 penalties to Villa. So it's quite weird that all of a sudden it came out the day after. So I'm just going to read parts of the transcript to you, yeah, and I'll bring Sink in as well. You go. So he's been asked a question. And remember, this is an allegation, and it was made from the sounds of it, it was made during lockdown. It was around 2021. So this video is quite a few years old, and it was regarding the Liverpool Burnley game, right? Which I can't even remember the result now. I think they drew. I think it was a draw or something like that. So this is the conversation. What did you make of Liverpool game earlier when you were the fourth official? So he's the fourth official, by the way, yeah? So he's not even the ref. Right? And he's gone, Liverpool were, right? And I won't go into what he said. He'll go, what do you think of Jurgen Klopp? And he goes, C word, absolute C word, right? Why would you say that Jurgen Klopp was, you know what? And he's on, aside from having a right pop at me when I refereed them against Burnley in lockdown, he accused me of lying and then had the right to have a pop at me. And I've got no interest in speaking to someone who is that arrogant. So I did my best not to speak to him. James Milner's all right. I get on with him. So, right, I won't. Is there any more to it? No, it's just more about James Milner, and then he talks about not recording him. But basically, he's gone. Long story short, Jurgen Klopp's a. Oh no, actually no. By my God, German. But my God, no, that's someone else in the thing. So yeah, that's Coote, and he then talks about Jurgen Klopp. Sink.
Yeah, mate.
So Jurgen Klopp is not the media's favourite. Yeah. Definitely not the media's favourite. A lot of the media disliked him.
Mm.
should he be allowing his feelings to be recorded on a video anyway?
Not at all. Not at all. You're a ref. Like you hold a certain position within the football world. You're to be seen and not heard. Like if you're retired and you're finished, you could go and do podcast interviews, say what you want. But until then, it just completely puts the whole referee and union in the bad light, and it just makes fans question the integrity of referees. And any little thing that happens now between a ref and a fourth official, people are going to be looking at it under a magnifying glass. Should that ref be at this game? Last time they had a little bit of an issue with this manager or this club or these fans, and it's just gonna.
So I'm just going to intervene because you said one thing there, and it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of all the Liverpool games afterwards. Because the reason why I'm saying that is because for how quickly this came out, no one's really got up the stats of how he then did against Liverpool, and it can't be a negative thing. So he must have refereed them in the exact same way, and he hasn't really done anything wrong against them.
Yeah. I think the reason why that may not have been looked at just yet is just because how quickly the Premier League has moved. The spotlight's kind of like on the Premier League and what they're going to do.
Yeah.
If they don't sanction him correctly, then people probably will start looking into that. But if the Premier League,
social media is quick, man. Trust me.
Oh,
I'm probably talking about it now. It's probably out there.
thing is, if the authorities have laid out the consequence and those that are going to question people's integrity, they then can't, because he's been punished. He's either been suspended and been terminated, or whatever the decision that the Premier League are going to make, so long as they make the just and correct decision for the crime that's happened and what he's done.
Chris, referee's point of view, what's happened there?
So, I'm going to defend him a little bit in the sense of I don't think what he said is that bad. Now, all of you guys, I presume, we've all got jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure all of us in our jobs probably have thought at some point someone we work with is a complete so-and-so, right? That's just human nature. We don't get on with everybody.
100%, but I wouldn't put it on Facebook. That's the
I'll come
Some
on to that.
people would.
I'll come on to that. Just looking at his actual opinion at the moment. Bearing in mind how much abuse referees take, what do we expect of them in terms of their opinion? Of course, that's going to cloud their individual opinions. I'm pretty sure if we went to Michael Oliver, he would say, I hate this manager. Or Kavanagh would say, I hate that manager. But that's just their personal view. I think that's life, right? I'll give you a very quick story. I remember once doing an FA Sunday Cup game, I think it was. And it was between two religious-based teams, right? One was a Muslim team, one was a Christian team. And they'd had history between them. And I turned up as the referee for this game. Now, I'm not going to go into which team said what to me because that's not important. But the important thing is that there was a lot of tension between these two teams. It was in an area of the country with a lot of racial tension. I go and do my best. Gave a penalty in the first half. Doesn't matter which team it was to. As I walk off at half time, got my two officials, two assistants either side. One of the managers walks behind me and says, Ref, we know where you live. After the game, we're coming round your house and we're going to stab you and we're going to stab your family. What do you want me to think about that guy? Do you want me to then dismiss that and go, oh yeah, no, he's a great guy? No, I've got a really negative view of that guy. I think he's very much similar to what David Coote thinks of Klopp, right? So the opinion itself, I think every single referee is going to have those opinions, as everybody does in life as a human being, right? That's just life. The abuse that they get subjected to, it's going to happen. The problem for David Coote is that he's in a job where he needs to be seen to be impartial. There's no evidence here yet that that has affected his judgment. But the problem he's got is that he can't ever referee Liverpool again without anyone questioning everything he ever does. And for that reason, I can't see how he's got a career as a Premier League referee going forward. I just can't see how it's possible. So yeah, his error is allowing it to be recorded. I mean, it looks like he's good mates with this other guy, right? Maybe it's his best mate. I've got no idea. And maybe, I'm completely speculating, but maybe he thinks I'm safe here. It's my best mate. 3-4 years down the line, maybe there's a falling out, and maybe this has been distributed maliciously to get back at him for some reason. Possibly, I don't know. But his absolute mistake, I don't think it's the opinion. I don't think having personal opinions about Premier League managers who have possibly abused you and called you a liar, and if that wasn't true, it's possibly a reasonable opinion for him to hold based on his experience. But to let that be recorded as someone who needs to be seen to be impartial, and that to come out, I just can't see how he's got a future. I do think there's a possibility he could referee in the Football League, but I can't see how he can possibly referee in a division now that involves Liverpool at all.
Michi?
Yeah, I agree. I've just been looking through, and I'm not sure how accurate this is, but this is telling me that he's since that Burnley 1-1 in July 2020, he's refereed 2 Liverpool games, and he's been VAR on 9.
Liverpool, yeah.
So that is over a 4-year period. He's only been involved in 11 Liverpool games, which is it's interesting because he's not been that involved, and pretty much all of them have been wins. I wouldn't be able to know decisions in any of these games because I don't remember, but pretty much every single one is a Liverpool win, apart from a draw against Arsenal and a draw against Everton. Everything else is a win.
So do you think, so really realistically, right, I'm just going to ask this question and I'm going to ask it to both of you two. Do you think he knew this video was out there and this was playing in the back of his mind ever since he'd done it, and he's been favourable to Liverpool ever since, just in case for this moment?
I don't know. Like you said, he was drunk in that video. So how much does he even remember of that whole night?
Come on.
Marla, I'll tell you why I don't agree with that. Why I don't think possibly agree, because I watched the Liverpool game at the weekend, and it was Liverpool.
I didn't see the 2 penalty incidents that everyone's talking about that he favoured Liverpool.
Yeah, so but the Liverpool goal when Núñez scores,
I saw that.
Blatantly clear foul. I thought when I first watched it, I thought, what a great advantage he's played.
Yeah,
because it goes through to Núñez and Núñez scores, and it's the most obvious foul going.
Yep, on
so when you see the replay from a distance, he's not played advantage. He's done what we call, I'll give you the refereeing terminology, it's called cutting the grass, right? Which is where you do that as a sign to say, no, it's not a foul. I think, how on earth can you say that's not a foul? Like, it's the most obvious foul going, and that he's got really lucky. The way that the plays developed and Núñez has scored has got him out of jail a little bit, really. But that absolutely was not in Liverpool's favour. That was a real howler of a decision, a shocker, and that was against Liverpool. So I don't think he was favouring Liverpool there at all.
But to have 9 games or 11 games, as Michi said, and not to have one defeat in that, there must be something in the back of his mind subconsciously.
Yeah, I mean he's VAR for 9 of them though, so he's only ref for 2, right?
Yeah, but the reason why I say that is because when we look at, everyone always says, right, and it's not true, but we always reference Liverpool as Liverpool, right, for a reason, because we always think they get decisions. So it'll be very, very interesting, and I know someone's going to do it before we even end this conversation tomorrow, is how many favourable VAR decisions he's given them.
Yeah, someone somewhere will be looking into all of that. 100%. There is no way there isn't someone who's going to come out on Twitter over the next 12 hours and there's going to be a compilation of VAR decisions that he's been involved in that either favour Liverpool or doesn't favour Liverpool.
So the question is, and as Chris said, is this the end of his career, or would he possibly be able to work in the Championship now and lower?
Well, I think if he wanted to continue,
apart from doing Tranmere games,
Yeah, that. I think if he wanted to continue that his career as a ref, I think that's the first thing that would happen anyway. He would be moved back down to the lower league, and then he'd have to work his way up if that could
But he
ever
can't work in
happen.
he can't ever work in the Premier League again, can he? Because
But
it's
we don't, we
against.
don't, we don't, we don't know what their final decision is going to be. He may have to,
But
properly graft to get back into the Premier League.
yeah, but the video is always going to be out there. He's never going to live it down.
I think that the league, the refereeing system, whatever it's called, is it the PGMOL, might just take his opportunity away from him, because he's on a hide into nothing. Regardless of where he refs, who he refs, he's on an absolute hide into nothing. He's going to get all kinds of grief from all angles over any decisions just because of this video. I don't see
So
how he can sustain his
does he even
career.
get into league football then? Does he get into Championship, League One, League Two? Does he even get into that?
That's the question, and that's the question.
Has he brought the organisation into disrepute?
Probably big time.
Yeah, but
Chris,
it'd be brave of both his and PGMOL to put him back in there, I think.
I'll stick my neck out and say what I think will happen. I do feel a bit sorry for him. Like he's voicing what I think is probably an opinion that most people have. He's just become public, right? So I feel sorry for him on that sense. However,
I like Klopp.
I can't get the way back, because for referees, the impartiality is everything. So I can't see how he can referee in the Premier League. I think he might have some sort of suspension or demotion, and they say, well, put you back to. I don't think the PGMOL will come out, or the FA, whoever's going to charge him, and say you could never referee the Premier League again. Maybe they'll say, oh, we'll just put him on the Football League till the end of the season. But I think what will happen now, complete speculation. I think that they'll do something like that and say, right, we're going to knock him down to the Football League, and I think he'll retire, because I don't think he can ever get back to the Premier League, and that will also, by going to the Football League, he's a FIFA official. That will mean that he can no longer referee international football either. So I think my gut feeling is he's done, unfortunately. Just out of pride, like if you've operated at the top of your game, which he kind of is, right, for a referee in the Premier League, do you really want to be going to Plymouth? And also, it's going to follow him everywhere now. So,
does anybody want to go to Plymouth? Is the question.
But that's my guess. I think there'll be some punishment. It will be some sort of suspension from at least Premier League football, and I think he'll call it a day and quit.
Yeah.
Chris, just one other side question: had he just mentioned Klopp and not mentioned Liverpool, would there be a different outcome? Do you think?
I don't think so, because unfortunately now he's on the record with Klopp. But the logical next question is, well, what did he think of Conte when Conte abused him? What do you think of Arteta when Arteta had a go? It's just going to follow him around everywhere. He's let his own impartiality be questioned. I hope for his sake that he's never consciously affected him on the pitch. It didn't, even that analogy I gave you, it didn't consciously affect me second half. I went out and did the best I can. I also had another one where there was a manager I knew was a problem for a different club, and I was an assistant ref, and he squirted. This is quite a funny one. He got a bottle, one of them sort of big blue Lucozade water bottle type things.
Yeah.
He went and got one of them from the side of the pitch when I was stood there on the halfway line, and pretended to go and drink it next to me, and then just squirted it in my face. It was quite funny. But it was quite a shock to me.
How bad was you at refereeing?
Send him off.
He got suspended for 10 games for doing that. But the point being, I didn't let that affect me, right? I mean, I wasn't very happy with him. I don't like that guy, and I don't have a good opinion of him. But I still tried to do my best and be fair. And I don't think, maybe I'm naive, but I don't think it probably did affect David Coote's refereeing. But you can never get rid of that stigma and that question now. And that, I think, for a referee is everything. Your integrity is everything. It's like, in a way, being a judge, right? If someone's going to question the impartiality of a judge and you can't get rid of that, your career's done. And I feel a bit sorry for him, but he's only got himself to blame, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So, what is next for David Coote? Look, let's be honest. None of us, when it came out, no one's come out and gone, he was a crap ref. No one's actually come out and said that. So I think Chris is kind of half right. It hasn't affected him at all. But where does he go from here, boys? For you guys, where can he go?
I think it's more if you know him more personally, like some of the other referees, we don't really know him, so we don't know what his passion is in refereeing. Does he want to be at the top level? Does he want to go to the World Cup? Whereas, like Chris has pointed out, if that be the case, and he can never ref for a FIFA match, then he may just want to retire. You know,
Could he go abroad?
But do you know what
That-
else
that-
has hurt him?
yeah, go on.
Right at the end, I'm pretty sure he calls him a German something as well,
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
which is just like,
What are you doing?
why would?
Well, hopefully that's just factual. Did he say something nice like that German person? That would be fine.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't. And do you know what? Right, and the one bit I do agree with Chris on is that actually, when you look at his opinion on what he said, I reckon a lot of people in the media have the exact same opinion of Klopp. Like the guy from TNT Sports, what's his name, the interviewer. I bet he's thinking something similar, right? Because you get when you hear people in the media, it's 50-50. You get some people that go, actually, when you're in Klopp's company and whatnot, he's great. But then but when he's lost and he's difficult and he's spiky and he's, being aggressive, a lot of people think of the David Coote scenario. So should it really, like, for me, is it a case of now, should the PGMO look at the situation of actually, if referees are abused by managers, as they are, what do they expect?
To keep their integrity, like Chris has said, I think the best referees are the most silent. You look at the top referee of our generation, that would never happen. You know, the Don himself, the Italian, that he would never ever stoop to these levels. It wouldn't even matter. It wouldn't even matter. There could have been a million players, managers that he would have been annoyed with, but he still maintained that authority and he always commanded that respect. And I think that's just what it is. You got to, as a referee, you got to be above all of the animosity and everything that goes on, everyone's opinion, because you hold that position on the pitch. You've got to be impartial, and your integrity, your impartiality is key. That's what you hold there as a referee, I believe. And your opinion, it does not matter whilst you are a ref. When you're after a ref and you're retired, then yeah, we want to hear everything what you want to say and all of all of your opinions. Who did you like? Who you didn't like? But until then, you keep everything quiet.
Yeah, these guys are there to uphold the law. Like, you're not there to do what
Put like that, yeah.
It's the same way. If a policeman got found out saying things about certain community or something like that, he'd be in exactly the same situation.
Yeah.
Very good point.
One thing I can share with you guys that I know a little bit about is I know his background a little bit. He's worked in football admin side of things. So I know he used to be a referee development officer. So that was his job. I don't know if it still is or not. Well, it won't be because he'll be doing the refereeing full time. Before he got that high, he was a referee development officer. So what I hope will happen is the PGMO.
So it's all his fault why the referees are crap now.
I'll tell you something else. As a complete side story, I'm quite proud of one of the guys on the Football League. Is a lad that I trained, and he did a game on Sky a couple of weeks ago, Brentford Sheffield Wednesday. Super proud of how he's doing. And then I watched the game at the weekend, Stoke Millwall, and he honestly, how he doesn't give a penalty, it's one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. And I'm like, oh my god. But anyway, that's a side issue. I hope what will happen for David Coote, if I'm right and his career's done, then I hope the PGMO will just keep him on as a referee trainer and educator and help the people who are currently refereeing to improve. Right? He's not a bad ref. He's one of the, whatever we think of the Premier League refs, and you can have your own opinions and say they're rubbish. They might be rubbish, but they're the best 20, 25 refs of the whole country, right? So he's a good ref, and he's got to the top by being a decent referee. He can give a lot back to the game, helping referees further down the pyramid. So that's what I would hope would happen if his career is done, because I just can't see a way back for him, if I'm honest.
Guys, thank you very much. Monday Pitch, what episode are we on now? Episode 8. Mitch, do you want to know where people can find you? And Stocky, you
Yeah,
decide to give tonight a miss because he's got more.
yeah.
Like, this is not important.
He's off swanning it in warmer climates at the minute. After announcing we were back on Sundays, he decided then to tell me he was on holiday for this Sunday. So next Sunday evening, we're back. We'll probably be talking international football and whatever else comes up in between.
Sync.
And that's that. Oh yeah, I didn't even say where it is. That's Where the Owls Sleep on YouTube.
It's in the description as well. It's in the description. Sync. No social media for you, but back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, mate, back in 2 weeks. Gonna have a little break, watch some international football, try not to fall asleep, and look forward to getting back to the league.
Chris, you got your X handle in the title, but obviously, if people want to come find you, but yeah, any refereeing questions they want to ask you, you're the best man to ask.
Yeah, like I'm always honestly, the one thing I really enjoy doing is actually educating people who have got a genuine interest in understanding why something has happened. So if anyone ever wants to ask any questions about the laws or anything like that, I'm more than happy to do that. The only thing that annoys me is when people just want to make out that the referees are against their team, right? Like that's just boring. But absolutely, anyone got any referee questions, you'll find me on X. Trying my best to defend David Coote, probably.
Not Daniel Levy, no?
Absolutely not. No, not a chance.
Oh, on that note, yeah, we're back tomorrow. Ashmatics analysis. I think I've got Trevor on tomorrow, so that will be interesting. And his opinions on Ange and everything Spurs. So we'll be back with some Spurs chat. And then Ash, I don't know if Ash is around tomorrow because it is the man's birthday. But he'll be back on Wednesday with the rivals as per usual. As you may not know, or you may know already, please find us on Spotify now. We do have a Spotify channel. You can sit back and listen to us in the car. But as per usual, come on, you Spurs. Come on, QPR. Come on, Newcastle. And Sod West Ham is not here. Right, but no, honestly, but come on, you Spurs. Come on.
Good night.